Everybody. I am obviously not there today, so we are going to be watching a video. If you're in my third and fourth period class, Miss Stockdale is available in Go Guardian. If you are in my fifth and sixth period class and you have questions, I am available through email, and I'll try to get back to you all as soon as possible if I can. But everything should be straightforward today, and you're just kind of following along with me. So right now you're watching the video as linked in the agenda. Let's look at what else we're doing. We're going to watch, you're going to watch this video along with me, and we are going to read section 1 of the Odyssey. I gave these out either last week or yesterday. I think with the fifth, sixth period class yesterday, I forgot to give those out, but they are sitting on my desk. If you guys, the 5 that are in there, want to go up and grab that, that is available to you. But we're going to be reading through this section 1, which is only like 4 pages. But we're going to really dive into it and get a better understanding. We're going to complete the reading roles section 1 of the Odyssey assignment. I'll go over that with you all in detail and let you really get traction with that. You're going to have some time. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes a day, maybe a little longer, depending on how long this video is. But to complete the no red ink practice, which should take about 20 minutes, give or take. But with no less than 20 minutes left in class, you need to start the no red ink quiz, okay? Taking the no red ink quiz, and it must be completed by the end of class. So do not procrastinate on that. Get it started with at least 20 minutes left. If you already have practice done and you want to jump right into the quiz, you can do that. And then if you finish the no red ink, you finish all the other assignments, watch this video, you can go up and watch the news or read from this Student News Daily. You can work on other assignments. It's up to you, okay? So you are welcome to work on that, work on other homework, make sure you've submitted everything, so on and so forth. So let's jump in. We're going to go over and we're going to read. So I've got a video set up here. Let's see if I can get my watch in the way there. But I think that will work for us. So we are reading the Odyssey. And let's get this kind of where we want it so you guys can see me and see the reading at the same time. We know that Homer, we talked about Homer yesterday and talked about how he is known as the author of this, but it was a storytelling over hundreds of years being passed along, and Homer's kind of this legendary figure that we actually don't know much about, but we do know that he was kind of the original storyteller of the Odyssey. If we flip this over, that'll take us to our first page. And we're going to start right here, book 9. So we looked at books 1 through 8. And the big thing you need to know is that from the Iliad into the Odyssey, that Odysseus has helped win the Trojan War by using the Trojan horse, and then helped to defeat the Trojans by bringing the horse into the city and escaping and being able to do all these terrible things by killing the Trojans. But he was considered a hero that way. However, the gods were not happy, and Zeus would actually cause a great wind and chaos and send him out across the Mediterranean Sea and to be lost. Okay, sorry being interrupted. All right, so we pick up with Odysseus has made it to Alcinous's castle, and he is being welcomed to a dinner there, and he's having dinner with them, and the bard is playing songs about actually Odysseus, and Odysseus has hidden his identity, and as he's playing songs, he starts to cry, and then starts to divulge that he is actually Odysseus himself, and he is this great hero that is being talked about in the bard's song. So that's where we pick up, and they are at a party. So we're going to begin reading right here. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit, really let y'all see. That looks pretty good. So it says, in the one-eyed giant's cave. So that kind of gives us a little hint to where we're heading with this, a one-eyed giant's cave. But we're going to start at this party. Odysseus, the great teller of tales, launched out on his story. So he's going to begin telling his story. Alcinous, majesty, shining among your island people, what a fine thing it is to listen to such a bard, So right here we have this word bard. Let's underline that. You guys should be doing this with me, but we are going to kind of make a note that a bard is kind of someone that sings and
7th grade Colorados and Walkers are dismissed.
And tells stories. Okay, so a bard is someone that sings and tells stories. And I'm kind of going up a little bit there, so I'm stretching out. But sings and tells stories. And then Alcinous is the king of this island. And he is the king and has Odysseus as a guest. And we talked about how important hospitality was. So Alcinous is being very hospitable to Odysseus and is having him as a guest at this party. And we're going to go ahead and put up here in kind of a bracketed kind of note up here that this is kind of our first setting. So this is setting 1. And it is the party. So he's at this party and Odysseus is telling his story. And setting 1 is a party. So let's keep reading. As we have here, the man sings like a god. So he's describing this bard as singing like a god. The crown of life, I'd say, there's nothing better than when deep joy holds sway throughout the realm. So there's nothing better than just having the joy of a party. And banqueters up and down the palace sit in ranks. So banqueters, let's underline this word, banqueters, they're party goers. Okay, we can even like kind of make a note out here, draw a little line. They're party goers. So people.
8th grade Colorados and Walkers are dismissed now. All our middle students are dismissed. Should be going now.
All right. So banqueters are party goers. Okay, people that are there for the party. Up and down the palace sit in ranks, enthralled to hear the bard. So listening to this bard. So we hear this bard again telling this story. They're engaged, listening, excited for this story. And before them all, the tables heaped with bread and meat. So there's lots of food at the party. There's lots of meats. There's lots of wine from mixing bowls. So they're just, these mixing bowls like they're big goblets or big dishes full of wine that they're drinking. So they're having a real party. And Stuart makes his rounds and keeps the wine cups flowing. This, to my mind, is the best that life can offer. So this kind of hints at that this is where Odysseus is happy or should be happiest. Okay? So he should be like very happy to be in this setting of a party with overflowing wines and food and all this. But he says, but now you're setting on probing the bitter pains I've bore. So this is saying you're pushing me to talk about, because the king is like, who are you? You're Odysseus. Tell me your story. He's like, I want you to tell about this horrible thing. So I'm to weep and grieve, it seems, still more. Well, then, what shall I go through first? So he begins. So we're going to say here, begins his story. So he's going to recount what he's gone through, okay? So our first setting is this party where Odysseus is having a great time, but now he's going to tell his story. So we're going to turn the page. So on the back side, we go to the back side of the page. So we'll go from 2:11. So we're going from 2:11 just right to the back side, 2:12. It's a little confusing. What shall I say for last? What pains the gods have given me my share. So we're talking about he blames the gods, given me my share. Now let me begin by telling you my name, so you may know it well, and I in times to come, if I can escape the fatal day, will be your host. So he says that I will be your host if he survives. if he gets home, he will host. Meaning that since he brought him into his house and he's being willing to take him in, he's going to host other people. He's going to return the favor, return it to the king. And he says, your sworn friend, through though my home is far from here. So though it is far from home, you can be my guest. I am Odysseus, son of Laertes, known to the world for every kind of craft. My fame has reached the skies. Goodness. So we see kind of Odysseus's pride really coming in. So known to the world for every kind of craft, my fame has reached the sky. So you can really see his pride. And I'm going to do that in capital letters because it is a very big ego. And we know that this is kind of what causes him trouble later, and we'll see that in just a second. Sunny Ithaca is my home. So he's from Ithaca. Sunny Ithaca is my home. Atop her stands our sea mark, Mount Neriton's leafy ridges shimmering in the wind. Around her a ring of islands circle side by side. Dulichian, same, wooded Zacynthus, too, but mine lies low and away, the farthest out to sea, rearing into the western dusk. So he is talking about his homeland. Okay, this is his homeland of Ithaca. Okay. Out to sea, rearing into the western dusk. While others face the east in breaking day, mine is rugged land, but good for raising sons. And I myself, I know no sweeter sight on earth than a man's own native country. So this is showing the theme or the idea of Greek loyalty. So this shows Greek loyalty to his home, okay? His love for his home, the love for his people, his family. He wants to get back home, okay? And I apologize for my chicken scratch, but I think y'all can read it. So his Greek home. And you guys can pause the video anytime you want if you need to write and I'm going too fast. Pause the video, rewind the video, up to you. Okay, keeping going. True enough, Calypso, the lustrous goddess, tried to hold me back. Deep in her arching caverns, craving me for a husband, so did Circe, holding me just as warmly in her halls. The bewitching queen of...
Dean Zimmerman, please come to the front. Your ride is waiting. Dean Zimmerman, come to the front.
Second, sorry. Keen to have me too. So this is right here. These are his trials so far, okay, or his tests. So he was tempted by women. He was tempted by riches, by power, to not go home, okay? And there is actually, going back over here, let's see if I can find it easily. If you go back to Echo, let's look at this really quick. You go down to our project, and you go to Odyssey Materials, you'll see there's actually a character list right here. So we can use this character list as we're going. Should have opened this up before, but show it to you now. So we can see we have Odysseus, the hero, the protagonist. We can read about him. Alcinous, which is the king of the Phaeacians, who offer Odysseus hospitality. Calypso's this beautiful nymph who falls in love with Odysseus. Circe's another witch, beautiful witch goddess who transforms Odysseus' crew into swine. So these are people they're mentioning. So if you see someone that you don't know, then you can come back to this and get some more information. So that's available. So we see these characters, Calypso. And let's actually put a box around these characters because they're going to be characters we need to talk about later that you can come back to. And actually on the first page, if you flip back over, we can do the same for Alcinous and kind of box around them. and obviously Odysseus. So our 4 characters so far: Odysseus, Alcinous, Calypso, and Circe. But they never won the heart inside me, never. And so nothing is as sweet as a man's. Okay, so he goes back to this. Nothing is as sweet as a man's own country, his own parents, even though he settled down in some lustrous house. It is back to that Greek loyalty. No temptation will take me from my home. Loyalty. Off in a foreign land and far from those who bore him. No more. Come, let me tell you about the voyage fraught with hardship Zeus inflicted on me. So we have Zeus, so the god of thunder, the god of the leader god, the head god is inflicting on him, inflicted on me, homeward bound from Troy. The wind drove me out of Ilium onto Ismarus and the Cacones stronghold. There I sacked the city. Okay, so this is our setting number 2, okay? Because he's telling the story, and Ismarus is going to be our setting number 2. Number 2. And this is Soames, okay? So we need to remember setting number 2, okay? And this Cacones stronghold. There I sacked the city, killed the men, but as the wives and plundered that rich hall, we dragged away from the place. We shared it round, so no one, not on my account, would go deprived of his fair share of spoils. So right after Troy, they go on to this city and they begin to sack it and they destroy it and they take all of the wealth from it after Zeus pushed them off course. And this is where they land and they begin to plunder that city. Okay, so our second setting, after talking about the party, he's talking about being in this city and sacking and taking its wealth. Okay. Then I urged them to cut and run. He's urging his men to leave, set sail, but would they listen? Not those mutinous fools. So what is a mutinous fool? A mutinous fool is someone that goes against orders, okay? So it's someone that goes against orders, okay? So they're not listening to their captain, their leader, okay? Goes against orders. There was too much wine to swill, too many sheep to slaughter, down along the beach and shambling longhorn cattle. So it was just too much wealth to run away from. So his men were being drawn in and kept there and not listening. And all the while, the Cacones sought out other Cacones, called for help from their neighbors living inland, a larger force and stronger soldiers too, skilled hands and fighting men from chariots, skilled when a crisis broke to fight on foot. Out of the morning mist, they came against us. So in this section, the Cacones are going to fight back. And like we said here, they're very powerful, okay? They're very good, strong fighters. And Odysseus is up here saying, we need to leave, we got to go. Packed as the leaves and spears that flower forth in spring, and Zeus presented us with disaster. So he's blaming Zeus again, blaming the god of thunder that he is bringing these people down. Me and my comrades doomed to suffer blow on mortal blow, to die. Lining up, both armies battled it out against our swift ships. Both raked each other over, hurtling bronze lances. So they are a very deadly, a very deadly fight. Okay, a very deadly fight. They're really, really fighting it out. Very deadly fight. Long as morning rose and the blessed day grew stronger, we stood and fought them off, massed as they were. But then, when the sun willed past the hour for unyoking oxen, for milking oxen, kind of like the break of day, the Cecones broke our lines and beat us down at last, so they lose, okay? Out of each ship, 6 men at arms were killed. The rest of us rowed away from certain doom, okay? So actually Odysseus, and his men lost the fight, okay? Check for something. Sorry, spelled that wrong. Odysseus and his men lost. So he's actually beaten and broken. Sorry, get that down there. And having to escape, okay? From there we sailed on, glad to escape our death, yet sick at heart for the dear companions we had lost. But I would not let our rolling ship set sail until the crews had raised the triple cry, saluting each poor comrade cut down by the fierce Cecones on that plain. Now Zeus, who masses the storm clouds, hit the fleet with a north wind. So again, Zeus is pushing them farther away. A howling demonic gale shrouding over in thunderheads the earth and sea at once, and night swept down. So another storm takes, write that meter, sorry. Another storm takes them away. So what we see here is that Odysseus and his men were not smart enough to leave early, and they decided to stay and fight, okay? And they made a flaw here. But who does Odysseus blame in his story? He blames Zeus for bringing on this terrible thing to him. So his pride won't let him take on the fact that we lost because we made a poor choice. It's because they would not let go, okay? And they were too prideful. So the howling demonic gale shrouding over the thunderheads and earth, sea at once, and night swept down. So he's being blown out to sea some more. From the sky, and the ships went plunging headlong. Our sails slashed to rags by the hurricane's blast. We struck them. Cringing at death, we rowed our ships to the near shoreline, pulled with all our power. There for 2 nights, 2 days, we lay up, no let up, eating our hearts out, bent with pain and bone tired. So this is setting number 3, okay? Out at sea. So I'm going to kind of put stars next to our settings, because, and then we have the party is our setting 1. So we go from this party, and he's telling the story at the party, okay? And then we're at the Cecones setting in Ismarus, setting number 2, and he fights and his men die. And then setting number 3, lost at sea. Okay. So they are lost at sea. All right. And let's look at this again. So what happens at sea is they're tossed and turned, and they're cringing at death and rowed their ships to the near shoreline, pulling with all their power. For 2 nights, 2 days, they lay up without anything, eating out their hearts, like basically just in pain, bone tired, trying to row, trying to survive for days in this massive storm that's been sent by the god Zeus. So we flip over. And when dawn with her lovely locks brought on the 3rd day. So this is very important. So when dawn, and we capitalize dawn as if it is a character. But all dawn is the morning. With her lovely locks brought on the 3rd day. So he will say this phrase, her lovely locks, or her lovely hair, or her lovely rose-colored hair. And he's talking about this like rebirth into a new day, okay, a new beginning, okay? We then stepping the mast and hoisting white sails high, we lounged at the oarlocks, letting the wind and helmsman keep us true on course. So finally the storm broke. We write that here, storm breaks. And they're able to relax for a little bit. And now at long last, I might have reached my native land unscathed. So it almost is making it home. But just as I double Malia's Cape, almost home, a tide ripped and the north wind drove me way off course, careering past Cythera. 9 whole days I borne along by rough, deadly winds. So they're still out at sea, okay? So even though they're almost home, they are, so kind of arrow here, still lost at sea. Then on the 10th, our squadron reached the land of the Lotus Eaters. So this is setting number 4, okay? Hey. Sorry I had an interruption, but going back to it. 9 whole days I was borne along by rough, deadly winds on the fish-infested sea. Then on the 10th, our squadron reached the land of the Lotus Eaters. So we find our 4th setting, okay? It is going to be the land of the Lotus Eaters, okay? So we're going to 4th setting, and this is the land of the Lotus Eaters. So we're going to box that and put stars around it because that is important. Sorry, I'll let y'all see that. So that is the land of the Lotus Eaters. So this rest of this paragraph is their experience on land of Lotus Eaters. So let's look at that. People who eat the lotus, mellow fruit and flower, we disembarked on the coast, drew water there, and crewmen scratched a mill by the swift ships. Once we'd had our fill of food and drink, I sent a detail ahead, 2 picked men and a third, a runner, to scout out who might live there. Men like us, perhaps, who live on bread. So he's sitting here like, hey, let's go, let's explore and see who lives here. So let's explore and see who lives here, is kind of what Odysseus says. So off they went, and soon enough they mingled among the natives, lotus eaters who had no notion of killing my companions, not at all. They simply gave them lotus to taste instead. So they give them food. So a little bit of hospitality here. So they give them food. So it seems like a nice gesture. Any crewmen who ate the lotus, the honey-sweet fruit, lost all desire to send a message back. So this fruit has this like negative effect on them, and they lose their desire to send a message back. Much less return their only wish to linger where the lotus eaters, grazing on lotus, all memory of their journey home dissolved forever. So it's almost like a drug, okay, that makes them forget where they came from, makes them forget where they're going, and they are lost. Drug that makes people forget, which is kind of directly against this theme that we've seen of loyalty and wanting to get home and return. So this is kind of another kind of trick of the gods, sending them to this island. So all memory of their journey back home dissolved forever. But I brought them back to the hollow ships and streaming tears. I forced them, hauled them under the rowing benches, lashed them fast, and shouted out commands to my other steady comrades. Quick, no time to lose, embark in the racing ships. So none could eat the lotus, forget the voyage home. They swung aboard at once. They sat with the oars in ranks, and in rhythm churned the water white. with stroke on stroke. So they escape. So they escape the Lotus Eaters. And they're able to make their way. So that brings us to the end of the first section of reading for the Odyssey. So we're going to head back over to the agenda for our class. And you guys are going to take a little bit of time, probably about 10 minutes. Shouldn't take too long since we just read it and we took good notes on it. And you guys are going to go and look at the, let's see here. All right, got the right agenda up now. So we need to read section 1. We did that. Complete the reading role section 1 Odyssey assignment. So let's go down to the folder. And looking in the folder here, under Odyssey materials, if you go to, all right, so you'll go down. So you'll go down and you'll click on Odyssey materials, and then you're looking for reading role section 1. It should be the last assignment that you can see. You can't see all this extra stuff, but reading role section 1 assignment, the Odyssey. We click on that. It says, for this assignment, you will open the document template, complete the assignment, and submit to Echo. So we'll view the template. You'll open up. Make sure to hit submit right when you open it up. That way you don't forget how to submit it. Yours today should say due today. And if we actually go over to this, we can see it looks like this right here. So it says, for section 1 reading of the Odyssey, you will complete the following role. Your role is to complete and report on the key points of the assigned section. Make a list or write a summary that describes how the writer develops the setting, the plot, and the characters in this section of the book. So we marked the 4 settings, so you'll just go back and find the 4 settings. So like setting 1 is the party, setting 2 is Maris and the Kokonis, and setting 3 is the sea and being lost at sea, and then setting 4 is the land of the Lotus Eater. So you'll go through each of those settings and describe what happens in them. And then you're going to tell me what happens with the plot, okay? So those big ideas of what happens, they're at the party and what's happening at the party, and then what happens with the Kokonis, and then what happens at sea and what happens at the land of the Lotus Eater. So pretty simple, go through the plot in this section right here. So explain major events. So you should just have some bullets explaining what happens in this first section. And then the last section is the characters. Now, if they're just briefly mentioned, you don't have to worry about it as much, but Odysseus, Alcinous, Zeus, like Calypso and Circe are very quickly mentioned, so you don't have to worry about them, and maybe the Bard. So those 4 characters, if you really give me kind of synopsis on what's happening with those characters, we'll be able to do this. So take about 10 minutes, work on this, get that information out. You're then going to go back over to No Red Ink. You'll have some time to take practice, and you should have about 20 minutes to work on the practice and then 20 minutes to take the quiz. So please let me know if you have questions. Send me an email. I'll try to get back to you all as quick as possible, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a good day.